Hi, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started now. Thanks so much for joining us today. Welcome to part 2 of our FreshLime webinar series. Today's topic is the value of repeat business. My name is Jamie Bliss. I'm today's webinar host. I'm the Education and Training Manager here at FreshLime. So I just wanted to go over our agenda here. Tell you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to start off by talking about what causes companies to lose customers. Then we'll go into talking about why it's so valuable to have repeat customers and the power of segmentation. Then we'll talk about ways to keep your customers coming back. And at the end, I will be answering any questions that you have. You are free to submit your questions via chat during the webinar at any point if you have a question, something that comes up, or you can wait and send them at the end either way, but I'll just be addressing all of them at the end. So just send them in whenever you're ready. Okay, so let's get started in talking about the value of repeat business. Why is this such an important thing for business owners to understand? What's the value for you in driving repeat business? Well, a recent study revealed that the #1 thing keeping business owners, particularly small business owners, up at night is an uncertainty about your future. There's so many things going on in the world. It's really scary to think about how it's going to impact your business. So some questions that might arise are, how can I grow my business in the future? Will I be able to keep up with technology and all the changes happening there? How do I find new customers? These are things that are constantly worrisome because there's a lot of uncertainty around that. But if you were somehow able to retain all of the customers that you initially brought in the door as new customers, how much would it relieve that uncertainty for you? How much less anxiety would you have about the future of your business, knowing that the customers that were coming to you were constantly coming back? Well, to understand the value of that repeat business, we first have to understand, why do companies lose their customers to begin with? There are a couple of reasons that we're focusing on today about why companies lose business. The first one is a lack of engagement with new customers. If we look at this graphic, we can see that Jane Smith, a new customer, first transaction, however she was brought in the door, whether it was through advertising, word of mouth, Google search, whatever that might be, she comes to a business as a new customer. Well, after her first transaction, the business owner does not contact her in any way. There's no text or email messaging. There's no request for a review, nothing over the course of the next year. Well, when that happens, there is actually an 80% chance that that business owner will never see Jane again. A lot of businesses think that their customers are pretty loyal. Hey, they had a good experience. We know we provide a quality product or service. Our customers are going to come back. But the data shows us that's actually not true. And most of these new customers are never coming back if there's a lack of engagement. There are a lot of reasons for that, and probably you're familiar with that even in your own behaviors. It's really easy for customers to forget things. There are a lot of things going on in our lives. We're constantly being bombarded with data, advertising, our just everyday life, right? And so it's really easy for customers to forget about you and your business when they haven't heard from you. So then there's this chance for competitors to swoop in, steal their customers from you, simply because your customers maybe can't remember your business name or your contact information, or just some of those little details when they go to search for your business again, that your competitors might be coming in the way there. I know that for me personally, I've had a bunch of experiences like this, and one that I always think about was years back, I had a house that ended up the basement flooded, and it was a horrible experience. It was something I would never want anyone to have to experience. But we had a plumbing and drain company come out, and as it turns out, the pipes in our ground, there were tree roots growing in, and it was causing blockage, and that's what caused the flood. So we had great service. Someone came out, this company came out, really liked the guy. He fixed everything up. And he recommended to me, he said, look, this is going to keep happening. So you really need to make sure that every year you have these pipes cleaned out, and because the roots will keep growing. as the trees grow. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, that makes sense. And I really don't want this to happen again. So I want to make sure that I have this cleaned out every year. So the next year rolls around and I thought, oh, it's spring now and the trees are growing and I want to make sure to clean out the drains. And I could not remember the name of this business. I actually tried to find him exactly. I couldn't remember the business name, but I did a search. I looked online and I couldn't find him. He had never contacted me. He didn't even leave me a business card if you're, old school enough to just do business cards. Not even that. I had no contact from this business. So what did I do? I found the next best thing online. I looked at reviews and I looked at, another business that could provide that service for me and went with them. And here's the thing. Many companies are doing this. They get a customer in the door the first time, but then they fail to interact or engage. So when that happens, the chance of you seeing that customer like me is about 20%. You may never see them again. Okay. Another reason that companies lose their customers is through poor online reputation. Now, I mentioned just a minute ago that, the way that I found this other business was I, looked them up online and I looked at reviews. This is pretty familiar to most businesses. They understand there is such a need these days to have a really strong online presence and a strong online reputation. This is how customers are choosing businesses. Online reviews impact about 70% of consumers' buying decisions. And data has shown us that over 80% of people say they trust an online review as much or more than a personal recommendation from a family member or friend. And you probably experienced this yourself, that you're looking for a place to, go get some dinner, get your oil changed. Maybe you're looking for a salon or a massage place. It's Valentine's Day recently and you're looking for something for your, spouse. So what do? You do an online search, pull out your phone, look up that industry, that service, and maybe your sister or your friend or somebody that you work with recommended a place to you. And you trust that person. It's not that you don't, but what are the chances that you're still going to look up that business online? You might trust your sister, but if you look up that business, even just to find the address, and you see like this business here on the left, 2.5 stars, are you going to trust that business? Even if your sister highly recommended it? Probably not. You're going to trust the other people that reviewed it and think, well, maybe your sister was just lucky, but everybody else had a bad experience. So this is really critical. If you have a poor online reputation because of negative reviews or lack of reviews, it could be why you're losing your customers, past or potential ones. So you want to make sure that you have this strong online reputation. But when you look at these three businesses that we pulled up here, which one would you say has the best reputation if you were going to go and choose one of these? Well, first of all, you're probably going to take one glance at the 2.5 stars and be like, nope, that's not the one. I'm not going to go to a sushi place with 2.5 stars, whatever that might be. But then you look a little closer at the ones in the middle and on the right. Well, at first glance, you might say, well, 5 stars. Yeah, that looks like the best one. But then you look a little closer, you start reading the reviews and you realize, wait, they only have 3 reviews and they're from a year ago. Now, how much are you going to trust this business? Well, you might worry that, was this just family members or friends writing those reviews? And why has nobody reviewed them in the past year? Probably you're going to go with that middle company that has 174 reviews and 4.9 stars, right? Because you understand that the more positive reviews, then you're going to trust this company a lot better because you're going to know, well, so many people had a positive experience. This is probably where I want to go. Now, does online reputation only matter to first-time customers? You're searching for this for the first time. The reality is your customers most likely will continue to look you up online, even if they've already come to your business before, even if they remember you, because we are a forgetful consumer base, because we rely on our phones, we know that we have that information constantly at hand. We don't have to remember as well. So chances are, just like me, I had that, plumbing and drain company I was looking for. I went back to look them up online. So consumers tend to be pretty fickle and really aren't that loyal. We're always looking for the better thing, and we don't hesitate to go somewhere that looks better to us. So it's important to maintain that reputation for your past customers too, who will continue to look you up and maybe see, something better with your competitors. All right, so now that we understand some of the reasons companies are losing their customers, let's talk about why it's important to focus on those customers rather than just solely focusing on, advertising, marketing towards new customers. So what we put up here, this is some data from an actual client of ours. This is a plumbing business, and we looked at some data about bringing new customers in. Now, if you look on the left, you can see customer acquisition cost for a first-time customer was about $230. Now, this didn't even include, paying gas to travel out to the home. This didn't include paying the employee, maybe tools, anything like this. This is just marketing, advertising dollars used to acquire a new customer. So because it costs so much just to acquire that customer in the first place, you can see in the middle of the green circle, that new customer only brought in a profit of $19 total. And this is 80% of your customers, all these new customers. And this is where businesses tend to focus. Well, I got to bring in new customers. But they're actually bringing you the least amount of profit. Now, when we started helping this business to retain the customers they had already spent so much money to bring in, the cost to retain the same customer only was $9 compared to the $230 to get them in the first place. So as you can see, that repeat customer brought in a much greater profit. And that's for two reasons. One, it costs so much less to bring them in again. And two, when customers come back, they tend to spend more with your business because if they've had a positive experience with you, they'll trust you more and be more willing to spend. So you can see that it costs 5 times more to gain a new customer than it does to keep a current one. And when you get your repeat customers to come back and become loyal to your business, they're actually going to bring in much greater profit. So customer retention should be the top priority for your business, but what we found is only about 40% of businesses are able to accurately measure the customer lifetime value and understand how much value they provide for the business. And one other thing I want to mention is, if you think about this even logically, the chances of your bringing in a new customer, the probability rate is about 10%. You market to a whole bunch of people who may or may not come in, you get about 10% chance that you're going to get that customer in. Where you're trying to retain an existing customer, the probability of them coming in is 60%. Because now they know you, they've had an experience with you. So they're much more likely to come back. You don't have to sell them on your business being better than your competitors, they already know. So to say that repeat customers are invaluable to your business really is an understatement. Okay, now we understand how important it is to drive repeat business, so we can talk about the power of segmentation and how that plays into your customer retention. All right, so segmentation. Knowing the importance of retaining customers is one thing, but the biggest problem for most business owners is this. How do I do it? How do I drive repeat business? How do I get my customers coming back? I get that it's important. What do I do? Well, this is where segmentation comes in. So on this screen, you can see we have 3 customers here. So consider this from the perspective of you as a business owner. You have 3 different Chris M, right? Same name, and all you know about them is they were customers of yours at some point. Well, if that's all you know about them, how would you attempt to engage with these customers after you first got them through the door? How would you do it? What would you do? Well, there are a lot of businesses that do try to engage with their customers. That's a good thing. I actually go to a grocery store called Harmon's occasionally. I don't shop there all the time. And I actually get text promotions and specials from this grocery store really almost every day. They blast out this same promotion to all of their customers who signed up for their foodie program. I'm not a foodie, but I like to eat. So I thought that might be a good idea. I want to see what kind of things are they going to send to me. Now, if they knew me at all, they would know how ineffective it was to send me a promotion for hot sauce or something like that, because spicy food and me, we are mortal enemies. So they send me these sorts of promotions that I am completely not interested in. And yet Harmons has so much information about what I do buy because I scan my little number in every time I shop there. So they know exactly what I'm buying. But they never market toward that. They just send out one promotion to every customer. And to be honest with you, I've almost stopped paying attention to them because I know they're really very rarely relevant to something that I would be interested in buying. So Harmons is treating me like Chris M here, any of these three Chris M's, as if I was exactly the same as every other customer. Now, consider if you looked at a little more information about your customers. So what if we differentiated these three customers by how much money they spent at their first transaction with your business? You can see Chris M, the first one spent $981. On the far right, Chris M spent the least amount of money with under $300. So looking at this info, which customer would you say has the greatest value to you? Probably it would be this one in the middle, right, who spent the most amount of money. So they're probably going to spend money with me in the future. So you can see how this would change your marketing or your engagement strategy a little bit, and you would probably understand how to focus your attention a little more. Now, what if we looked at even more information about these individual customers? How would this change your understanding? How would you better know how to engage with these customers? So if we look and find out that, well, Christopher M on the left doesn't even like being called Chris, and Christine on the right is a woman with a home of over $1 million and a household income of $830,000. We look at Chris M in the middle and we find out, this is a college student who makes very little money, and when he replaced his water heater, his parents paid for it for him. So, he might not be our most, where we want to focus most of our attention because he's not a client or customer that's probably going to be able to spend with us much in the future. So this really changes our understanding of how to engage with and market toward these customers. So think about this. How many of you have ever purchased something from Amazon? I can guarantee all of you are raising your hand because everyone's bought something from Amazon, right? Now think about how Amazon engages with its customers and uses customer information. Once you've made an initial purchase with Amazon, is that the last time you ever hear from them? No, of course not. You immediately are getting requests to review the products. You're getting emails every week saying, hey, you purchased this product, here's something else you might like. And you're like, oh yeah, I would like that. Hey, tell me more, Amazon. It's based on the purchases and information that Amazon has acquired about you. And they use that customer data to create a customer profile based on you, your individual purchases, whatever other information they've gleaned from you. And this is how Amazon knows how to engage with its customers. Now, imagine if Harmons, that grocery store I mentioned earlier, used all the data it has based on my purchases and sent me out promotions whenever they have sales on, chocolate or coffee, things I do buy in very large quantities. Well, then I would be much more likely to shop there more frequently because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not loyal to Harmons. I cheat on them all the time with other grocery stores and wherever else gets my attention. But I would be much more willing to go there if they actually marketed towards my needs and the things that I'm interested in. So that brings us to this. How do we build customer loyalty? So customer segmentation, this is what helps you better understand your customers and personalize your messages that are more likely to engage them on an individual basis. So look at this block on the far left, one big segment. This is how most businesses look at their customers. One big segment that gets marketed in exactly the same way, like Harmons I told you about. Now, engaging with them at all, that's something, right? That's a step in the right direction. But if we took it a step further and segmented into groups based on, some of the data, like we have in this, this middle block of multiple segments. So maybe we consider data purchased, the items purchased, some of those sorts of things. This is definitely a better way to engage with customers. So imagine getting a reminder 3 months after getting your oil changed, and it came with an offer for 10% off to come in that week for an oil change. how likely would you be to go to that business to get your oil changed? I'm going to be honest with you, I would go in just because I'd be grateful for the reminder. I don't even need the discount because I am very forgetful, and I would be very happy to have someone reminding me, hey, it's been 3 months, go get your oil changed, you know? And on the other hand, however, if we're only looking at that one big segment and you got a promotion, that same reminder to get your oil changed 2 weeks after you've gotten your oil changed already, that's not going to be relevant to you. And so when it is time for you to change your oil, are you going to remember? Are you going to go back there? You know, I don't know. Now, if we take it even one step further, and you could create, use your customer data to create a profile for each one, like our far right blocks, the segment of one, we'd be creating individual segments for each customer. Now, how much more powerful would that be? How much better could you engage with your customers and give them what they actually need and want? How much more effective would that customer engagement be? So this is really the goal, where we want to get. We want to have this individualized data that we can engage with. Now, if you don't have a way to gather your customer data yet, that's okay. This is something that you want to be looking into. There are a lot of really great CRMs out there that can help you with it. QuickBooks is one that is very generally used and known and works really well. Service Titan, ISI, Pest Routes, more industry-specific CRMs. If you can start collecting your data and utilize these CRMs, this will allow you to begin to segment your customers and therefore better target your marketing messages to those individuals. Now, getting to the point of segmentation of that magnitude, that segment of one, that's not where most businesses are, but there are some really important steps to getting there. So the first is to begin creating meaningful engagements with your customers. This is how you start to get your customers coming back. Now, to do that, you want to consider your customers' behavior. As you know, the smartphone has fundamentally changed how customers interact with local businesses. Think about how you find businesses. You probably don't go down to your office and sit at your desktop and do a search for sushi restaurants when you are out driving around. No, you're going to pull out your phone and you're going to do a search there. This is what people are doing. They're using their phones as their mobile computers. So to be successful and bring your customers back, companies must connect with their customers on their phones. Now, look at some of this data we provided. 98% of text messages are opened and read. 98. This is huge. And you all get it, right? Nobody likes to see that little notification pop up on their, by their text icon. I mean, it drives me crazy. I'm going to open all of them, even if it's from Harmon's, and I know it's probably not something I want. I'm still probably going to open it and see what's there. And 70% of consumers prefer to receive their offers via text message. Mailers, that's a thing in the past. People aren't even looking at those. They're throwing them into the recycling. They want a text message. It's quick, it's easy, it's convenient, because the other thing is 55% of conversions occur within an hour of an initial mobile search. So if you're sending someone a promotion or offer on their phone through a text message, there's their phone right there. It's in their hands. They're probably going to do the search for your business right then and make a decision within that same hour. And because on average we know that American adults check their phones roughly 150 times a day, this is really important that you're connecting with them there. Now, that might seem high, but I guarantee all of you listening right now have already checked your phones, 20, 30 times while you're listening. So we know that this is true. We know this is how customers and consumers are finding data or looking for data. Okay, so the next step then in keeping your customers coming back, now that you understand some of the behaviors of your customers, is to consider how then can I engage with them in that way. So let's return to Jane Smith that we looked at earlier. She was a plumbing customer, a new customer. She spent $650 initially with one of our plumbing customers. Now, we helped our plumbing customer to engage with her over the course of the next year. So first week, review request was sent out. Then over the course of the year, you can send out things like checkup emails. Hey, how are things going? Is everything going still well with the service we provided? Other engagements can be educational. Let them know about other services you provide or best practices. There can also be some engagements about they're based seasonally. Maybe if it's an HVAC company, maybe you're wanting to say, hey, this is a really good time to have different things serviced or make sure it's ready for the winter, things like that. Now, when we did this with Jane Smith, after these engagements, and then she had a need for a new water heater. Well, she came back to her same plumber because this plumber engaged with her. She knew the name, she knew a lot about it, and so she actually returned and spent $1,000 this time. Her retention marketing that was cost so little brought this huge profit to this plumbing business. This business effectively engaged with her by sending the right message to her at the right time and on the device that she was using, her phone. So as a whole, this is the focus of FreshLime. We know the importance of driving repeat business, and this honestly can't be emphasized enough. This has to be a focus for your business to succeed in the future. And just to give it a little perspective, last year, $400 billion was spent on gaining new customers by SMBs. So this is what is known as top of the funnel marketing. And this is where most businesses invest the majority of their marketing budget. It's into paid advertising, social media, leads, all these things just to bring in first-time customers. But as we talked about earlier, this is the least cost-effective type of marketing. The cost is very, very high, and the value is low because you're not bringing in a lot of profit. And not only that, remember that those first-time customers have only a 20% chance of returning to your business if there's no engagement with them after. So basically, you're pouring all this money into this funnel, and it's just gone. It's lost, right? Now, instead, consider taking that investment that brought your customers in the door in the first place and use it to nurture the customer journey in a way that will bring your customers back again and again. So you're using your investment that you already put into that new customer, and it is a very low cost, but brings you much greater value. So that's the goal of FreshLime, to engage with customers in a way that will turn them into repeat and loyal customers through a data-driven platform. We know that this is where businesses will find the greatest long-term value. Okay, so now that we've come to the end of our discussion, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, you can send them in now via chat, or if you've already sent some in, we're going to check those now and see if we can respond to any of those questions for you. Okay, so we really appreciate your time today. If you do have questions in the future, please feel free to send an email to support@freshlime.com or go ahead and call our support line 1-833-449930. And yes, Elizabeth, this was recorded and we will be posting it. So if you want to look up this information again or have questions even in the future specifically about it, you'll be able to access it. No problem. Thanks a lot. All right. Thanks again, everyone. And please join us for our next series. We'll be posting information about that later on. And we really appreciate your time today.